Well, say hello.
The dead have risen from the grave.
Mister, there's 100 of those things out there.
How many did you say?
100?
And now the question is, how do we get them back into the ground?
Bert, Frank, we have a little problem.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
It's so hot!
It's getting hot in here.
Hot in here, but keep on all your clothes.
Pretty much. This week, we'll be discussing the horror classic, The Return of the Living Dead, starring... There's some vaguely reminiscent actors that you might have noticed. Yeah, good times had by all. Now, Aaron, give us your 30-second synopsis of The Return of the Living Dead, please.
All right. Zombies. Oh. No, what I'm going to say is this. Dawn of the Dead was a true story, and whoever was left got stuffed in these containers and were sent to some, I don't know, body farm or something, wherever you buy the skeletons.
Medical supply warehouse.
Medical supply warehouse. So, of course, let's get drunk and goof around and tap on the glass. Gas leaks out. Zombies rise. But in this case, they're pretty much indestructible. If you burn them, the gas creates more. If you chop them up, it's like Death Becomes Her. All the little pieces wiggle around.
Yep.
But these zombies you can talk to. And it's a comedy. Guess what? Zombies win. The end.
Wah, 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 wah.
Wah, wah.
Now, this is the first time you'd actually seen this movie, correct?
I had heard of it, but in my youth, I was much more zombie sensitive.
Yep.
So now, after years of watching the Walking Dead, and by years I mean like when they killed that one Glenn, I was out, Doherty out.
Spoiler
But
alert.
before that, and you know what? Daenerys gets killed in Game of Thrones. If you haven't stepped up by this point, I'm not saving your feelings. Screw you. So, anyway, what I was saying was I was zombie sensitive, so I didn't see it. I mean, watching Zombio, the old Fulci film, was enough to send nightmares for 20 years into my brain.
Did you call it Zombio?
No, I was slurring into another word.
Interesting.
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
What's funny is I saw this movie for the first time, I want to say like in junior high. Maybe early, freshman year of high school, thereabouts. And I didn't acknowledge at the time how funny this movie is. Because I was so it's a zombie movie, so you're kind of on edge. So if the comedy goes right by you. And literally, I had nightmares about this movie.
Right.
No question. I was up all night thinking zombies were coming in the window.
Right. And they still could.
And what's interesting about this movie, watching it again, is it's not really that gruesome or grisly.
But it is billed as a gore fest. I mean, it's no Fulci.
No.
I didn't want to actually vomit in the theater or in my living room. But I suppose at the time there was a lot of blood.
And really what you see is there's a couple close-ups of there's a dead body with his brain hanging out.
And it's pulsating. Yes. I mean, it's gorier than Night of the Living Dead, faux show.
Well, in Night of the Living Dead, there are extended scenes of zombies eating human flesh.
Right.
And there's
actual
not that
animal intestines.
Right. There really isn't that in this movie. What I found that made it disturbing for me, especially as a young person, is you're just screwed. How often I put myself into the position of the actors or the characters in this movie, and you're like, oh, there's nothing you can do. You think you're a paramedic rescuing people who are ill, and you turn around, oh, here's a zombie, turn around, now there's 10 zombies, and I'm dead.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
Just lay down.
Might as well. Those are the moments that were most disturbing to me, where you're just kind of like, even the cops, there are scenes where like the cops, like literally it's the whole force with shotguns shooting at the zombies to no avail. It does nothing. Bullets do nothing.
Absolutely. Unlike other zombie movies where you shoot them in the head or whatever, the pineal gland.
Right. Pineal gland.
The pineal, I'm going to call it the pineal gland. But that drops them. Not in this case. They're an unstoppable force.
Right, and literally there's a point where the guy, they tackle the zombie in the medical supply warehouse, and Bert drives a miner's pick through the guy's skull, and he's still flopping around.
Yeah, that was a sign that it's all bad. It's time to hunker down.
You think the movie lied?
Hunker down.
Right. It's the brain. I hit the frickin' brain.
Yeah, exactly. That was disturbing.
That was good. Good stuff. No, it is like the scenes with Bert and Ernie, which is a realization. There's characters named Bert and Ernie in this movie. And
there's a characters named Bert and Ernie in my favorite Christmas movie.
In It's a Wonderful Life. Right. Yeah. I don't think there's any connection here, but just ironically.
I'm going to say there is.
Bert is hilarious in this movie. Frank is hilarious in this movie.
It's all ridiculous.
It is. But they know it's ridiculous.
But now we're old and jaded, so now it's not as scary. It's still creepy.
It is still creepy.
You can see the whack-tastic funny parts.
You absolutely can. So we've kind of already started to dip into this. So let's jump right into the highlights, or as I call them, what the F is this?
What the F is this? Well, one of my highlights is after the gas escapes from the gallon drums of zombies.
Oh yeah.
And then they have, because it's a medical supply warehouse, they have like the split animals.
Yes.
So the dogs are all coming to life, but they're exactly split in half, and they're like, and they're like twitching their tails, and then he's like trying to stomp it, but you can't kill it. So he's stomping, and they're like,
you do. It's whimpering. He's hitting it with a crutch. Kill it, and you hear the dog go. It was hilarious.
All I kept thinking about is that there's that artist who did all the flayed man and the split cows. Yeah. And like they're all going to come to life at the Damien Hirst, I think is the artist. And like all these creatures, the slices are going to come to life at like the Tate Museum or the Metropolitan Museum of Art. That would be so disgusting.
That's what would happen for good. Well, and you see, if you're paying attention, you can see like the butterflies.
Oh yes, I like that. The butterflies were flapping. But here's what's interesting. They did this whole thing about discussing these skeletons, because all skeletons come from India. Why didn't they come to life?
Do you have to? I mean, there's no rules.
I mean, straight butterflies that don't even have their abdominal section anymore are alive. Creatures are digging out of their grounds, which are basically a skeleton with fresh eyeballs.
Yes.
Why, after we discussed these crazy skeletons, how come they're not moving?
There really isn't a lot of rhyme or reason. I mean, one zombie who sneaks into the police officer's car and says, "Send more cops," is literally wearing a Civil War uniform. So
it could be an old town, and maybe the soil is just right. So you still haven't decomposed since the Civil War.
Exactly. Well, and here's the other thing. There are moments where you see people who've been killed by the zombies coming back as zombies, right? However, two of the punkers who were killed in this movie never come back for no reason.
Well, and there's other people who seem to be ripped to shreds who reappear as a freshly preserved naked zombie, except for some kind of Barbie patch to cover up her muffaloonie.
Well, we're going to talk about this.
About trash?
Yes, about trash. Well, here's the thing. These are the first zombies who are only after your brains. Brains. So
and you can have logical conversations. They literally had like this miniature person. Did you notice how out of proportion it was to them?
It was an amputee. is what it would look like to me. Maybe I'm crazy.
It had arms. It was like half a zombie. Wait,
Right.
I'm not talking about the midget zombie. I'm talking about the one they were talking
Oh,
about.
yes, yes, yes.
People.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is
midget
true.
zombies, or I'm sorry, small people zombies. I don't want Willow coming after me zombie
No,
style.
do not.
But hey, why are you coming back to life? Why are you doing this? I like how they're resurrected with perfect knowledge of what's happening.
Well, right. Because it's basically this movie, like we said, not only are they totally indestructible, they only hunger for brains. They are fast as hell. I mean, you could see overzealous extra zombies literally open field tackling poor police officers. You're just like, geez. And they think. They have brains. Literally, like we said, the cops getting on the CB saying, send more paramedics.
Send more police. Send more police. Send more paramedics.
Right. So I think on some level, and I don't have any knowledge to support this, but you think on some level they said, if we're going to give them like minds, then we have to give them a rationale for why they're eating people's brains.
But I like that the gas gives them knowledge.
Well, who knows why they know? Because you're right. There's the half zombie woman tied to the table, and they ask her, why do you eat people? And she says, I don't eat people, I eat brains. And
brains make the pain go away.
Right.
How do you know the brains make the pain go away?
They just know things.
They just know things.
Right. Good time.
Is that like Tyrion? I drink and I know things.
That's
more
right.
Game of Thrones references. I drink and I know things.
What else? I love in the opening credits, it literally has like a scroll or whatever that says the events of this are true. Everything that happened in this is real. Good times.
It happened on the back lot. I like that they somehow decided like the Go-Go's want to then hang out with these pleather-wearing fake punkers.
I wrote this down. It's not really the Go-Go's because, as you may or may not know, the Go-Go's were punk pioneers before they went really poppy. Did you know that?
I did know that. I did see the documentary. But they were still too cool to be hanging out with these losers.
Oh, no, you're right. There are dudes with, like, mohawks. This dude has a chain in his nose. And then there's Tina, who's literally wearing, like, what? Like, she should be hanging out with the Valley Girls.
Right.
It's crazy. Who knows? So
There's no rhyme or reason.
No rhyme or reason.
I think Jane Weldon was in this, wasn't she?
Jane Weedlin?
Weedlin.
Who did you call?
Doesn't matter.
Sweet Jesus. No, I wrote that down. Nice girl with the punkers. She literally has like a bow in her hair. Yeah. Walking with Trash, Suicide, Scuzz. These are the names of the other characters. Here's Tina. Here's Scuzz. Good time.
Tina, at first, I thought was the chick from Valley Girl because they have her dressed identical. I'm like, is Nick Cage making a cameo?
Why not?
Why not? That would have improved it.
Help us out. Would have improved it. One thing that I thought was kind of cool, when they, the two guys working at the medical supply warehouse, one scene that was cool was the fact that when the two guys who work in the medical supply warehouse, there's like Frank and Freddy, when they go down and mess with the tanks that are holding the zombies from Night of the Living Dead,
yes.
When they accidentally break the seal, I guess, of the tank, you see the zombie face melt away.
Yes.
So that was really a cool effect.
Yeah, it was reminiscent of our favorite Poltergeist and also Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love seeing some good wax creature melting with an eye falling out.
It was dynamite. What else? And did you notice that like Casey and Trash, who were the two like party girls with the punkers, were wearing the most ridiculous wigs in the world? Yeah. Horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, and the point is, let me just tell you, because as a child of the 80s, they had spray hair color then also.
Right.
Just to share. So you don't have to put on the wig from Thrifties.
It is absolutely from Thrifties. Let me tell
It
you
is
what.
absolutely plastic Barbie hair Thrifties bullshit, which made no sense because as a child there was a Ron Popeil hair in a can,
Yep.
plus the same damn spray colored hairspray that they still sell today.
Yep. Oh, no question. I think they said something along the lines of the girls didn't want to get their hair cut because a trash has basically a flat top, like she's from Ghostbusters or something. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but they are ridiculous.
Well, very simple. I mean, really, the hair is the whole thing because our sister was a punk and she hung out with girls that all didn't have flat tops. So that was the key, the pivotal thing for the character. It had to have a flat top.
Well, and
it had to be Tank Girl. Is that what it is?
Well, and two of the guys, one dude literally has a mohawk, and the other guy has his head is shaved with crazy designs in it.
Yeah, and it's a fresh shave too. So
right.
It's like the total albino white man, why white men should never shave their heads situation.
It's a sad situation.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so not punk. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
so not punk.
This is like 1985. How strong was the punk movement in 85 is my next question.
I mean, I was in high school in the early 80s and people were still dressing it. They were still desperate for that Fonzie jacket. It was still a thing.
But were you in high school in 85?
No. But 2 years before, for sure, they were still bebopping around.
Fair enough.
When did Randy Newman I Love LA? Because there was the dude with the lazy eye who was from Palm Springs who was in it. One of our sister's friends. Remember that?
Pretty standard.
With the Liberty spikes?
Yes, of course. Okay. I love there's a scene where spontaneously Trash decides to strip buck naked in the cemetery.
Except for her hoo-ha, because I froze. I'm like, does she have an anatomical abnormality? Because I was like, wait a minute, this was the special effect of the whole movie.
Right. Basically, and this is behind the scenes, but I'm going to tell you straight up. Basically, initially, it was full frontal with pubic hair, and a producer or executive came on and said, "You can't show that. Get rid of that."
Exactly. This is going to be an hard R if you're showing frontal pubis in 1984 or 5.
So then they made her go and shave herself and do the same scene. So now she's bare flesh down there. So
now it's even more anatomical.
That's what they said.
That's worse.
They did not want that. The executives were like, this is even worse. So then they had to come up with a crazy Barbie prosthetic that she wears, which makes no sense. Right. Especially in HD. HD, it's even worse because you can absolutely see this weirdness.
In standard definition, I was like, what's happening here? Because when she turns around and shakes her ass, no. There is no secret thong or anything going on. So they literally, poor child, it looks like they molded hot wax on her pubis or something.
Yes. It's the problem with doing it this way is it draws your eyes and because you're like, what is happening? What am I looking at here? Right.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like if one of the dudes all of a sudden dropped his trowel, but he didn't have a penis. Something is missing in this picture.
Right.
Come on, people. How about it didn't work out, so she's just not naked? Because it's really gratuitous and for no reason.
It's for absolutely... Well, I mean, or just leave your bottoms on. If you want to show some boobies, okay. But don't give me this weird Barbie stuff. It's horrifying.
Yeah. It's horrifying. She can be up there shaking her tits or whatever. That's still gratuitous, but at least we don't think that she's like the Borg or something. I don't know what's happening.
She's the Borg.
Is she spliced? What is that?
Well, pretty much. And I love that her whole outfit is basically held on by, duct tape. Because she just rips it right off. She jumps up on on one of the coffins or whatever that is, and just comes right off easy. It's like a basketball warm-up outfit.
Yeah, it's a tearaway. And then for the rest of the movie, she's bottomless. So she's always, I keep seeing her, she's always holding down her shirt over her front.
Yes.
In all the shots after this, she's holding them down.
Until she loses it, until she's murdered later.
And
You're
then
right.
she's just a naked zombie. Even though she was eaten by 25 zombies,
Yes.
her brain is intact, and now she's streaking through the forest.
Right. Like I said, there are people who come back, but you never see them with massive head wounds or anything.
Right.
No explanation.
No
Good times.
explanation.
Let's see. Oh, one of my favorite scenes is when Suicide is like pissed off and doing his little soliloquy to the side. He's just like, what? I bust my ass for you guys, and what do I get? He's spooky. What do you think this is? A costume? This is a way of life.
This is so stupid. That was so stupid. So
I love
fun.
it. I mean,
fun.
I feel that Suicide was basically the Mercutio of this movie. He is so great that they had to kill him early. That's my feeling.
Oh my God!
He's dynamite.
You are ridiculous.
He is dynamite. Have some respect for the dead. Good time. Let's see. Do you have any highlights?
I had this weird thing. Like if they're in the office of the medical thing, and there's like an eye chart. I'm like, that's not an eye chart. So I had to freeze it to read it. The eye chart says Bert is a slave driver and a cheap son of a bitch who's going to bald too.
Right.
Ha ha. I was like, what?
Right. We didn't even really talk about the plot too much. I mean, basically, so these canisters from Night of the Living Dead were accidentally delivered to this medical supply warehouse 15 years earlier or whatever it was. And it's Freddy's first day on the job, and the older veteran takes him down there just for fun, just to show him the tanks. Accidentally release the tanks, which animates everything in the warehouse, which would be fine if it stopped there. But then Bert, who's the boss, he's afraid that he's going to be sued or he's going to go to jail for having these tanks for however many years. So he takes the one like corpse that's in like the freezer, which is yellow for some reason.
Right.
There's no explanation.
Oh, and freeze right now. Who stores bodies by the head? Like they had some like a claw machine holding up the one corpse they have in a body bag by its head, like with a claw machine.
Nobody knows the answers to these questions. So he takes they chop the corpse up because they realize he can't kill it, and take it across the street to his buddy Ernie, who runs the crematorium at the funeral home that's attached to the cemetery. That's convenient, by the way. And they burn up the corpse to get rid of all the evidence, which, of course, all the fumes go up into the clouds, and it rains down into the cemetery. Freddy's buddies, who are all a bunch of crazy punkers, are hanging out in the cemetery waiting for Freddy to get off work. And that's where we're at today. Good times.
Well, and the interesting thing is, there's so many whys. One, all these zombies were delivered by mistake, but there's clearly a phone number.
Yes.
Why would you want them in your place taking up space in these sealed containers where it looks horrific and they're monsters?
Right.
Why wouldn't you call? Because they literally have some colonel who has like a computer in his house who are just waiting for the calls, right?
The government has been desperately trying to find these canisters for the last 15 years.
Yeah, why would you be storing this, taking up your space?
Yes.
Second of all, if the story of Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead was correct and true, how did they handle it? How did they end up with only 4 zombies?
Well,
Second,
they said, okay,
because why they end the movie makes no sense.
Well, what they say is that they had to change around the facts. Because Freddy goes, but in the movie it shows zombies taking over the world. Oh, no. The government said they'd sue their asses. So they changed the details. That it was really just 14 zombies in the morgue of the Pittsburgh hospital were kind of thrashing around a little bit. That's what Frank says when he's telling the story. So there you go. But it also kind of tells us why they had to store the zombies in tanks. You know what I mean? Because what else are you going to do with them, I guess?
Okay. Well, it seems like you figured the military, they put them in these special tanks, right, with the gas or whatever. So were there only 4 zombies and they just captured all of them? It seems like they knew not to burn them or blow them up because they sealed them in this container. So at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, they just drop a bomb on Chicago.
They nuke Louisville, Kentucky.
They no more horse races anymore. That's all gone.
Yep.
But you would think they should know that's a bad idea. Things are burning, gas. Now it's going to spread all over the world.
Right.
So they knew how to handle it 15 years ago, and now they don't.
Correct. Good time. Maybe they
so
forgot.
As long as we're clear with that whole situation.
Oh, there's no reason. Point number one is you're right. When the canisters arrived to the medical supply warehouse by mistake 15 years ago, why wouldn't you have just called and said, "Oh, hey, they came here by mistake"?
Instead of unscrewing the top so they could pop it open to see what's inside.
Yes. So why just
zombies? No. I don't want those here. Thank you.
Yeah. My bad.
I'm pushing them out to the curb because you sons of bitches better come pick them up right now. I'm putting on the Nextdoor app otherwise.
Come by anytime. Exactly.
Come by anytime. Free. Let's put a sign next to it. Free.
Well, one thing that's kind of interesting. So Frank and Freddy realize that they've screwed up, right? They got sprayed with a face full of chemicals, and they don't know what to do because the half dogs are barking, and the corpse in the deep freeze is thrashing around. They call up Bert, and Bert says, we'll kill it, and we'll get rid of all the evidence. Good times.
Seems like a good idea.
So they open up the deep freeze, and the yellow character goes right for Bert in kind of a moment of like comedy, right?
Because how did he even get out? He was hanging by his head.
I guess he just unhooked himself, right?
There you go. See, now that would have been funny. I want to see him swinging around trying to get out. Because he's super strength. I mean, he's literally kicking a hole through an industrial freezer.
Because Bert is like, Freddy, you open the door. Frank, you hit him in the head. I'm going to hide back here. Zombie goes right by Frank and goes right and tackles Bert to the ground, basically, in a moment of comedy. But if you think about it, there's a reason why the zombie goes right for Bert. Do you know what that reason is?
Why?
Because the other guys are already dead.
Oh, fascinating.
Right?
So here's my question. Okay. So here's the deal. So the gas animates the dead.
Yes.
And kills the living. So why aren't all the punkers dead?
Because I guess they just got hit with acid rain, I guess, right?
So they just get acid reflux or something?
They get acid.
They get a little jaundicey. They get some, I don't know.
Well, Frank and Freddy, they get a face full of the gas. So maybe just by virtue of the concentration of it, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure this out like the rest of us.
No, I think you're right. When they woke up, they were really waking up.
Right. Because that's the thing. They get up and they're telling, they feel like crap, what's happening. But it really doesn't become clear what's happening until later in the movie.
Right. They're getting cold and shivery, and it makes your eyes all red like hay fever.
Well, one thing,
being a zombie is a little bit like getting the COVID. I think you get the chills.
Well, here's the thing. If you look,
is this a COVID connection?
There's no COVID connection. There should be. When Bert
I
goes
thought you were going to say according to the CDC.
Well, you know that the U.S. government and the CDC, U.S. military, have procedures in place if a zombie apocalypse occurs.
I do know that.
So there you go.
They claim it's just like a fun exercise. I'm like,
That's what they claim. So, when Bert first goes to the mortician, Ernie, to try to get his help, Ernie goes about this long dissertation about rigor mortis. It starts in the brain, then goes down into like your, your trunk, your stomach, whatever, and then settles in your muscles, right?
Okay.
If you're paying attention to Freddy and Frank, their symptoms follow that same pattern.
I was not paying attention. Thank you for pointing that out.
Because first he says, I've got a horrible headache. Then I felt like I was going to puke. And now I have muscle cramps.
You're right.
See, there are levels upon levels to this movie.
So
Good
why
times.
would a dead person get the cramps?
Because that's the rigor mortis settling in their muscles.
Well, then why aren't they statues?
It just hurts. Well, they kind of lift him up and you can hear his like muscles or like kind of crackling sounds. When they check his back and his back's all bruised up because the blood is pooling in his back.
Because that's where the blood pooled, yeah.
Ugh.
Except why would the blood be pooling in his back when he's been walking around the whole time?
I guess
It
because
should be pooling in his legs and such.
well, I guess maybe now he's been laying down for a while, so now that's where it's pooling.
Ooh, that's nasty.
See, there are layers upon this. Good times.
My God, this is such a deeper movie. Oh my God.
I think we can
This
all
is
agree
like
on
Wings
that.
of Desire. I don't know why.
Why you
This,
you love to go back to Wings of Desire for some reason. Good Lord.
layers, man, layers.
Layers upon layers. There are a lot of great lines in this movie, I have to say. There's the scene where Bert and Spider manage to fight their way through the crowd of zombies, jump in the police car, and are first they're like, we'll go back and rescue Tina and Ernie. Oh, we can't. There are too many zombies around. And they try to drive out, and there's literally 100 zombies just in the road. So there's nowhere to go. They crash the car into the medical supply warehouse. They get out. Spider's pulling Bert out of the car, shouting, "You stupid honky." I love it. I love it when they drop a honky reference. Like this is 1971 Shaft or something. And they say, oh, the car's totaled. Oh, that's okay. My car's out there, and so is Frank's. And then you hear explosion. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Well, I'll tell you my favorite line, and that is, of course, brains. This is where you get all the brain references.
Because there's the creepy tar man, who I guess was the dude that was in the container.
Right.
Who's basically like dissolved and sloppy looking.
Right. Now he's starting to look like, what is it, the Crypt Keeper?
Looking a little crypty. And Bert says, open the door. I'm going to knock his goddamn block off.
Okay.
And he does it with a baseball bat. Pow! Which he just pulls out. I have to say, one thing I love about this movie is whatever they need, they can find it. They're in the medical supply warehouse. Here's my baseball bat that I just have here. Right? They're at the mortuary, not the mortuary. What am I trying to say? The crematorium, wherever.
It's got to be a mortuary too, because they have a chapel. But yeah, raw timber. We have enough fresh timber and plywood to cover everything. And every other zombie movie, they're busting up furniture and trying to nail it up. This is all perfectly done by carpenters. Covering up every stained glass window in the frickin' place.
Yep, hammers, nails. One guy pulls out an axe. Another guy pulls out a sledgehammer. Really? What is this, a Home Depot? They're covered.
It's a very well equipped. Well, apparently, when you work in a crematorium, mausoleum, funeral home, you got to be prepared for anything.
This is clearly.
Well, I mean, the U.S. government's prepared. You better be double prepared if you're dealing with them every day.
No question.
Boom! 6 feet under meets zombie apocalypse.
One thing I haven't mentioned is that during the closing credits, it's literally the comedy highlights of the movie. Did you know that? Yeah. Where it literally jumps from like one-liner to one-liner to one-liner all the way through the closing credits. Dynamite.
So if you don't want to watch the whole movie, just watch the ending.
Just watch the closing credits. That's all you need. Dynamite.
At first I thought they were like the outtakes, but sadly they weren't. That would have been funnier.
Okay. There should be a law that says every movie has a gag reel. Every movie should have a gag reel.
So,
outtakes.
Gag reel.
No question. I mean, just like they used to do in like Cannonball Run or whatever, where it's like Sammy and Dean laughing with Burt Reynolds. That's what I want. I don't care if it's Schindler's List. Give me the gag reel.
Where is Schindler's List gag reel? Where is the Sophie's Choice gag reel? I bet that's just hysterical hijinks.
That's what I'm
Kevin
saying.
Kline and Meryl Streep.
That's all you need. Do you have any other highlights you want to talk about?
No, I do not.
Well, let's go right into behind the scenes. Are you ready?
Hey, I'm ready. All I can tell you is that I know is Dan O'Banion, who has his finger in every movie worth seeing, has his finger in this pie.
Oh, he has many fingers in this pie. He wrote the screenplay, and he directed it. This is basically his vision of the movie. Let's jump right in. Zombie extras were paid bonuses to eat real calf brains in the film.
Ooh, now they all got what was that? The mad cow disease.
Mad cow. Dan O'Bannon ate some raw calf brains himself first, just to show them, look, it's not that big of a deal. It's all good.
Proceeded to die a terrible death.
He was violently ill for the rest of the filming. The character of Ernie is an escaped Nazi in hiding. And if you're paying close attention, you can see there's a photograph of Eva Braun on the wall. He drops like just casual German under his breath.
He's listening to German pa music while he's trying to embalm someone, sure.
It's the German Africa.
He's a little young to actually have been the escaped Nazi, I think.
He's listening to the German Afrika Korps march song in his headphones. Yes. He has a German Walther P-38. Yep. And at one point he says, "It's coming down like ein betrunken Soldat," which means a drunken soldier in German. Why is this? Well, and they say that there's a point where when he's interrogating the half zombie on the table, that he realizes that all of his Nazi atrocities, like people could still feel them, basically. It makes him feel bad that that there's kind of an afterlife where the dead feel the suffering they're inflicted during their life, I guess.
I cry bullshit.
Maybe so.
Because I'm saying they're feeling this because now they're awake. Whereas before they're powder. So they weren't, I say they weren't feeling anything until they were resurrected, and now they're suffering.
There you go. Good times.
That's my theory.
These are all theories.
Yeah. He's worried about the people who are dead suffering, but not the people he was actually actively doing this to.
That is correct. Not. Jewel Shepard, who played Casey, was a stripper, and Dan O'Bannon, who just happened to be frequenting the strip club, hired her. But he wanted her to play trash. And she's like, "I'm a stripper. I'm naked all the time. I don't want to be the naked girl in this movie. I'll just be the other party girl who doesn't get naked." So he agreed. So there you go. Miguel.
That sounds very some Me Too biz going on there. What
no question.
Pay for that?
No, well, and that's the thing. It's like, again,
hiring the stripper from the strip club I frequent. That sounds quid pro quo.
That is absolutely correct.
That's not the case, but this all sounds wrong.
It's a sad situation. Miguel A. Nunez Jr., who plays Spider, was homeless when he was cast in this movie. So there you go.
Well,
it's a sad situation. He went out now. Here's the thing. There are connections with this movie and Friday the 13th movies.
Oh, tell.
The guy who played Spider, who I just talked about, played Demon in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, famously saying, "Damn those enchiladas." Good times.
Well, I'm glad to see his life turned around.
He's doing very well. The kid who played Freddy was in Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. He was in the next one where he plays grown-up Tommy Jarvis, the same character from Parts 4 and 5. So there you go.
Honestly, I'm not even sure I've even seen that deep of the Friday the 13th.
Let's see, what else? They had to get the approval from Lysol when Frank is spraying the Lysol in the air because of the fumes.
Right.
And Lysol was down with it. They said, sounds good. Lysol will work with all sorts of foul stenches, evidently.
Well, you know what? The thing that usually happens is it's not just that we want their approval, they need to also give us money. Most of these companies pay to do the product placement. So like on all the sitcoms, if they want to do a Coca-Cola, but Coke doesn't approve, you always see some kind of shitty piece of paper label over whatever they're drinking.
This is true.
Those bastards at Coke wouldn't give us more money, so we will just cover it up. What was that shitty Schwarzenegger movie that all took place in a Del Taco or a Taco Bell?
Oh, Stallone movie. You're talking about Demolition Man, I believe?
Demolition Man. Everything was Taco frickin' Bell. It was disgusting.
Let's see. The actor who plays Bert frequently had angry and sometimes violent outbursts on set. So they took away his real lead pipe that he uses and gave him a rubber one at all times.
Because he was drunk the whole time, or what?
He just flew into rages. Who's to say why?
I mean, he's just unstable? Because he's been in 1,000 movies.
Oh, absolutely. He was like in Westerns and things like that back in the 50s.
Oh, he was in everything.
No question. Let's see. Dan O'Bannon claims he was surprised by how many women were in the initial audiences for this movie. He figured horror movies, especially these kind of horror movies, are basically just guy stuff. Like guys are the ones
guys take their girlfriends, you know, because first of all, it's all high school kids going to see this, but it's all guys taking their girls.
Well, that's why they wanted to have the naked dancing number in the graveyard. But what he said later is like, if he would have known there had been that many women, he would have had Freddy dancing around naked too.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I don't know what the scenario would have been, but
I want to go see this horror movie because I hear there's some dingles and some dangles.
Some dingles and dangles. The original script for Return of the Living Dead was written by John A. Russo, who was the former partner of George Romero. And when they had kind of a falling out immediately after Night of the Living Dead. And in this scenario, George Romero got the rights to basically the zombies that we know. You know what I mean? That kind of scenario, right? So his movies are meant to be sequels of Night of the Living Dead. John Russo got the rights to the words Living Dead. Which is why, you know, it's Dawn of the Dead, not Dawn of the Living Dead. So he wrote the original script. They gave it to Dan O'Bannon, who was like, this is crap. I'm not making this movie. So he rewrote the script from the ground up and added the flourishes that we talked about to separate it from the Night of the Living Dead movies.
You gotta keep it separated.
Right. Although at one point they did try to contact George Romero and offer him a producer's credit on this movie, but they never were able to reach him.
They're like, I'd rather see you dead.
Basically, that's what they said. The role of Bert was originally offered to Leslie
Carrie
Nielsen.
Elways.
It was Carrie Elways. Leslie Nielsen.
Oh my God, so it'd be like a Naked Gun, Return of the Naked Gun, Living Dead.
That's correct. He wanted too much money. When they eventually went with the actor...
Oh, he was on a roll then, yeah.
No question. They eventually went with the actor whose name I'm going to butcher. It's like Clu Gulager, who played Bert. He arrived the day before the first day of filming. Just rolled right in, said, sounds good. Where do I sign? Freddy got his ear pierced to be more punkery because he thought the role would require it. It wasn't until later he was told, you know, we could have just put a clip on you.
Yeah.
Didn't have
to.
You
could have just glued a stud on it.
Right. It's a sad situation.
Freddy looks like this dude I went to college with. I was like, that looks just like Jeremy.
This is one of the first movies where they actually say zombie, because in the George Romero movies, they never use those words.
What did they call them?
They call them all sorts of things. Like in The Walking Dead, if you watch it, they never say zombies.
Ghouls?
They say yeah, that's exactly right. George Romero called them ghouls.
All right.
So there you go. It's like they kind of put it all together later.
Yeah, I guess zombies are really more of like that voodoo thing where they're not really dead. They just don't have control of themselves.
That's true.
Like someone else is the puppet master.
Let's see. I think that's about it.
Well, we should talk about Dan O'Bannon and some of the other stuff that he's worked on.
Oh, Dan O'Bannon, who's the writer and director, was the voice of the helicopter pilot in this movie. So if you listen, especially we just watched Dark Star as well, you can absolutely recognize his voice. Because remember, he's in Dark Star too.
Dark Star.
Yes.
He has his hands in Star Wars, Alien. The list goes on and on and on and on.
It goes on and on. And he was originally going to play the part of Frank. But then when James Karen came in and read for Frank, he was so blown away, he was just like, you can have that role. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't know how you do both.
It would be very
and Total Recall. He worked on Total Recall too. So
all over the place. All over the place. He is dynamite.
Apparently all planned at a strip club.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the top cast. Bert, like I said, was played by Clu Gallagher. I don't know. Gallagher.
Was he also in like Midsummer and The Wicker Man?
He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as the bookstore man.
Oh.
There you go, more recently. Piranha 3 Double D. He's most famous for Return of the Living Dead, Feast. He was Mr. Walsh in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. He actually said that he considers Return of the Living Dead one of his finest films.
It's pretty good. I have to say, half the time I'm pretty sour, but this was good.
Not sour this time.
Not sour.
Don Calfa, who played Ernie, the Nazi crematorium guy.
Yeah.
Known for Return of the Living Dead. He was in 1941 as the telephone operator.
Yeah.
I
like 1941.
He was in Weekend at Bernie's as Paulie the Hitman. He was in Bugsy.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff. They made him dye his hair white.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
James Karen was Frank. Most recently for us, he was in Poltergeist. He was Craig T. Nelson's boss, who only moved the headstone.
Yes! You only moved the headstones. Yes.
Yep, good times. He's also in Mulholland Drive, The Pursuit of Happiness. Yep. Let's see. Tom Matthews, we talked about him. He played Freddy. He was in Friday the 13th, Part 6. We talked about Miguel A. Nunez Jr. He was in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Linnea Quigley, who played Trash, has been in 10 million things, including Silent Night, Deadly Night. She was in Night of the Demons. She was in Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bolorama. You know it, don't you?
Yeah, it's a quick slide from horror to horror porn. It's a quick slide.
Well, she's considered a scream queen. So
yes.
There you go. I'm not sure we need to talk about it.
But if you listen to the titles, at first it was Scream, and then it was like Night of the Living Hookers, and then it started becoming more of that kind of horror movie.
She was not in Scream, by the way. It's a good time.
No.
Let's see. I think that's about it. Shall we talk about our ratings?
All right. So
hang on.
Uh-oh.
Rotten Tomatoes currently gives it 91%.
Oh, no, come on.
91%.
Come on. Come on. Come on, Rotten Tomatoes. This is not, you can't say that this is the same as Rosemary's Baby.
That's what it says. You
can't.
It literally
says.
You
can't say that.
Almost
this
as
is
good
not
as
the same
Baby.
rating as The Godfather, as Goodfellas. Almost as good. This is not on par with Goodfellas.
Here it is. Roger Ebert. It's kind of a sensation machine made out of the usual ingredients, and the real question is whether it's done with style. It is. 3 out of 4. Roger Ebert. Thank you.
Yes, 3 out of 4 is not 91%.
91% just means 91% of people gave it a good review. That's what it means.
Well, what's good?
Anything above failing, I guess. 60. Well, again, on Rotten Tomatoes,
look at my high school transcripts because apparently I've got a 91%.
Clearly,
if it's just anything that's not failing, all right.
Well, on Rotten Tomatoes, you're considered fresh if you have 60% or higher.
You know what? That's what I should have told some of my professors. Hey, Rotten Tomatoes says I'm fresh at 61%. I'm fresh, excited.
So exciting to me. Audience only gave it 79%. So
that's more realistic.
So what is your rating? Go for it.
I am going to give it a 4 out of 5 reverse cod piece on trash.
The good old reverse cod piece. Sweet Jesus. Let me go with 4 out of 5 crazy, like, nose-piercing chains that go from your nostril to your ear.
That's what I like. It was so ridiculous. It was good so big. It would have ripped the hole out of your nose.
You think this is a costume? This is a way of life.
This is a way of life. Yeah, a lot of punks wore just plastic jackets. That's fantastic.
I didn't even tell you this, but Mark Venturini, who played Suicide, the guy with the crazy thing in his nose.
Yes.
He also was in Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. He played Vic, the psychotic person at the psycho farm who flips out and murders the guy, poor Joey, with the candy bar with the axe. You can forget it, Vic. Poor Joey.
It's also incestuous.
It's very sad.
But none of them were in Dark Star? That's too bad.
It's a sad situation. So there you have it. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Aaron, we're on Instagram. What's the word?
We're on Instagram now. I've posted 4 random things. Very exciting. I believe it's called The Podcast That Wouldn't Die.
So go ahead and subscribe to that as well.
Don't forget to rate 5-star review.
Please do.
Oh my God! Is there a murder at your house? What is the screaming in the background?
We got some murders going on in the house. Zombie attack on the loose. We are on Cannibal Holocaust. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Everywhere where the finest podcasts can be found. So
subscribe, rate, review. I am Aaron. He is Kevin. We are not married.
We are not. We are brother and sister.
This is the podcast that wouldn't die.
Check it out. What we were thinking of doing 28 days later next time. So
correct.
Let's see. You can find 28 Days Later at your local library, of course.
On Hoopla.
On
YouTube.
On Hooli. I will tell you exactly where you can find it because that's how I do it. You can find. It is free to stream if you have the Paramount Plus subscription.
What the hell is that?
How's that do it for you? Otherwise, it's also on Hulu. It's on Epix, DirecTV. There's a lot of choices there for free streaming. Well, it's free if you have a subscription. I don't know if that counts. Otherwise, you're going to pay $2.99, $3.99 at Apple TV, Amazon, YouTube.
Holy crap! How am I even going to watch this?
Who's to say? Remember, it's 28 days later, not 28 days.
Let's not get that confused.
28 Days is a rehab movie with Sandra Bullock. Different movie. Don't do it.
If you have Hulu, Epix, DirecTV, you should be able to stream it. Otherwise, you can rent it.
Yes.
Amazon, $3.99 on YouTube.
Sweet Jesus.
$3.99 on Vudu, which is the Walmart thing. What the hell?
Are you out of your mind? So there you have it. Thank you very much, and be well.
Asti Sumandi.